Hello, everyone. I am Kate with Scottsdale Moms, and today joining us is Dr. Newby with Phoenix Children's Pediatrics. Thank you for coming, Dr. Newby.
Thanks for having me.
That's great. Well, so moms, as you know, medical questions are one of the top on our mind, how to keep our kiddos healthy and safe. And so we have a list of questions that we're going to go over today with Dr. Newby that you guys, actually, our community, have submitted. And what I've done with those comments and questions is I have kind of grouped them into general themes for Dr. Newby. That way we can tackle as much as possible in this 10-minute time. So Dr. Newby, the first question that we're getting a lot of comments on is the news is talking about the Delta variant and concerns about back to school starting again. Do you have any suggestions for parents on how to go forward with a new school year with all of this news?
Sure. So the COVID numbers had been looking better. And in the last few weeks, we've noticed this new Delta variant, just a different kind of strain of the COVID virus going around. It's been a little more contagious than the previous one, so it spreads a little faster. And some states are reporting more symptoms in kids. You know, before kids were barely having too many symptoms, obviously hospitalizations and things. But for the most part, kids did pretty well with COVID. The new Delta variant maybe is causing a few more symptoms in kids. So with that in mind, and with schools opening up and less masks and things going around the community, definitely recommend wearing masks in schools. Obviously, the benefit of in-person school is so great that we want to try to find a way to do it as safe as possible so kids don't miss too much in-person school. Best way to do that, obviously, with hand washing and mask wearing. Vaccinated or not, it's a good idea to just keep the masks going and keep washing your hands.
I do love that you said that. I feel like my kiddos more than ever have been very aware of washing their hands, which I love. And now, with everyone in the community saying, hey, don't forget, they'll walk right in after we go to a park or to the grocery store or wherever, and they'll wash their hands. And I'm like, yes, there we go. Maybe this will be a lifelong habit that we've all picked up that'll keep us all a lot healthier. And for our moms out there, I wanted to share that you are also a mom. Will you tell us a little bit about your family?
Sure. I have two little kids, but this is the first year that school really applies to us. I have one going into kindergarten. Yeah, my 3-year-old just, whenever she comes inside, she goes, rub, rub, rub. And she washes her little hands. And it's just really cute to see them learning the importance of hand washing and sanitizer when we're out and about. They know before we eat something, we wash our hands. So that's kind of nice. But yeah, I have two little kids.
That's so great. So you're right there with us.
Right.
Sending a kiddo to school. So you get the whole challenge with this, with all the new news. So this is not COVID specific. This is just for anything. Are there certain symptoms that should prompt parents to call a doctor for medical advice right away?
Sure. And I always tell parents, I mean, you're the parent, you know your kid better. If you call and say, oh, they've got a runny nose, well, that could mean not much. Stay home, have some fluids and rest. But especially if your kid is having any trouble breathing, it's respiratory season, COVID aside. There's lots of cough, cold viruses that go around this time of year that we're seeing a ton of. So same rules apply for any flu season, cold season. Any shortness of breath, they're saying it hurts to breathe. They've got this terrible hacking cough that's keeping them up all night. High fevers for a few days that aren't getting better with Tylenol or Motrin or any of those medications. Or just if they're just not acting themselves. We'd rather you come in and say, nah, it's a cold, keep doing what you're doing than miss something. So it's always better to err on the side of caution, and bring your kiddo in if you're at all worried about they're just not acting right. You know them the best.
I think that's great advice, because I think sometimes as parents, we overthink and think, okay, we were just there, a couple of weeks ago for a well check, and they're going to think I'm crazy if I just take them in. But I think that's great advice to just say, you know what, err on the side of caution. It doesn't hurt anything to give them a call and say, this is this has been going on for a couple of days. What is it? And when you say high fever, can you give us some guidelines on what does that mean? What is high?
Sure. And I don't like to focus on a number because it's not the number that's important. It's how your kid looks. If they're running around playing at 104 and they seem to feel fine, you don't have to give them anything. Fever is not necessarily scary. It's fighting off whatever, illness they have. But if they're, don't want to get off the couch, they're kind of tugging, working hard to breathe, and they're 101, then obviously you'd still want to bring them in. So the number's less important. But especially once you get up to the 104s, 105s, especially in little kids, it's worth getting checked out. Some kids don't tell you when they have an ear infection or don't tell you when they have pneumonia. So I'd much rather you come in and say, yeah, official diagnosis, not much to do. Just keep going with what you're doing at home than miss something that we could have fixed and made them feel better earlier.
I had one of those kiddos, my second, he's 18 now, but I would just notice him as he was playing, he would start tugging on his ear, no fever, no nothing. And then he would just get super cranky and I would take him in and it never failed, ear infection. And I was like, how did you play this whole time with not even, no fever, no nothing, just all of a sudden
run around with pneumonia. Some kids, my son had a 105 one night for no reason whatsoever. And, gave him some ibuprofen and it came down and that was it. There was nothing after that. It was just the weirdest thing ever. Kids are weird.
They are. And they're all so different. I feel like all of mine have their own different quirks. And I can tell I have one, my oldest, she's 21 now, but when she was little, if she got snuggly all of a sudden, I was like, okay, I love that you're getting snuggly, but we're going down. This is happening.
Simple as like, oh, they used to sleep great through the night. Now they're waking up more, or they just aren't eating as much, can be a sign that something's going on. Some kids have very, very subtle signs of infection, and some kids run around and play. No big deal.
So crazy. Well, I love that. That's great advice to just call. Doesn't hurt a thing.
And when in doubt, keep them home just in case. So if they're running a fever, cough, cold stuff, just be considerate of all the other kids in school and just keep them home till they're feeling better.
Yeah, I agree with that. Where is the best place for parents to look for medical advice online? I know that a quick Google search can scare you to death because it comes up and it's like, right. My child has the, whatever. And it's
right.
Like,
it's always something terrible. And you're like,
always.
Probably not. When in doubt, call your doctor, right? We answer calls all the time. What's the Tylenol dosing? What's the, what should I do for constipation? Just anything. We get calls all day long that I'd rather you call than Google it, I guess. The AAP, obviously. So usually if you're looking for, recommendations for what to do for pain for an ear infection or something, I usually type AAP first, the American Academy of Pediatrics. They also have their own website, which is great, called healthychildren.org. And talk about a little bit of everything. It's got, starting baby foods and what to do for coughs and colds, when to see your doctor, that sort of thing. So healthychildren.org is another good one. If it's COVID related, obviously CDC, AEP are good resources.
That's great. I have to write that down, healthychildren.org.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have a couple, websites in the Valley that are forums basically on Facebook. And I see a lot of moms asking questions in there. And I think it's awesome to ask our tribe so many things and to make sure, we're kind of in touch. But I do get concerned about some of the advice that gets thrown out because I'm like, you know what? I want to check that on a website that I know a doctor would trust, that I know a doctor would use for their own kids.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like that's really important. And I know that Phoenix Children's Pediatrics, you guys also have your own website. Is that right?
Yep. And you can go on there. So obviously Phoenix Children's, we have a bunch of outpatient pediatrics offices, not at the hospital. So we're at the Paradise Valley location. There's Scottsdale, there's Mesa, there's Gilbert. We're all over the Valley now. So if anybody needs a pediatrician, obviously that would be a good place to look, but there's lots of great providers in the Valley.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's something I did not know, was that it's not just the location close to downtown, that you guys have all sorts of locations all over the Valley. That's good to know. Yeah, is there anything else that you want to leave our moms with? Any back to school advice or
Yeah,
thoughts?
right. Don't forget to go in for your physicals. Remember, there's immunizations usually before kindergarten and when you turn 11. And then all your sports forms, make sure those are up to date. We get a lot of calls the week before school. Oh man, I need my EpiPen refilled, or oh, school needs this asthma action plan filled out. So getting ahead of the game is helpful for everybody.
That is great advice.
Albuterol refills, your EpiPen. School will want a brand new prescription for your albuterol or EpiPen. And so we get a lot of calls, and sometimes the local pharmacies run out because August 1st, everybody remembered they needed an EpiPen.
Good to know. So if you're watching this video, you are already ahead of the game. Don't forget to get your refills before August 1st.
Right, so the school nurse has them on hand if you need them.
That is awesome advice. I wouldn't have thought about that. I have an albuterol kid, so
right. And a lot of schools require a letter filled out by the doctor of when to use the albuterol, things like that. So just get all your ducks in a row and have a good, hopefully healthy, safe school year.
That is fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time with us this morning. It just gives a ton of peace of mind to moms to have answers in their pocket to just talk through it and hear what the recommendations are, because I know there's so much news coming towards us right now. It is like drinking from a fire hose of,
Right.
and it's so easy to be like, okay, we need to do this, wait, over here. So thank you for helping us focus on that for a minute. We appreciate your time.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me.